Love our conversations. It's been a little while. And so I just feel so uplifted and enriched talking to you and the depth of wisdom that you have about so many things, so many topics. I love how we're on this theme of reevaluation. And I think this is going to be a really interesting conversation for people that are starting to question things in their life. And at this time of year, it can be really reflective and it's a beautiful energy, like a collective energy, I find that people are talking about what they want to leave behind, what they want to take with them into the new year. So I'd love to hear, Ray, a little bit about your process or your thought process, or do you have a physical process that you go through as you start to wind up the year?
Gosh, this is why I love conversations with you because we just skip the small talk and go right to it.
Just go
There's no
right
small talk here. I love this. And again, I think that also speaks volumes about the degree to which you introspect and think about your life. So I'm also really curious to hear about yours after I share some of my processes. I was sharing this with a client the other day. It's like a big month of exhale, right? You're just like really unwinding from the year. Summer's around the corner. People are having those slow lunches or Christmas lunches. So it really is a time for reflection, right? And as we start to go into the holidays, everything's in focus, right? Those magic moments with our families or our loved ones, to milestones that we've had in business, learnings that we've had socially with friends, our families, our business partners. I feel like it's a really beautiful time where we do get to introspect and relive the experience that we've had over the year to decide what we want more and less of in the new year. So I'm excited to talk about that a bit more because we did one in January or early this year. So I feel like this is such a wonderful way to end that process of reflection and share that. There's been a lot of reflection and growth on my end, a lot of lessons, reaching goals, adjusting goals, clarifying visions, so there's been a lot of that throughout the year and we'll get into that a bit more. How about you?
I love that word adjusting and clarifying because it's a constant moving dynamic process, right? I was out for lunch with a friend and we were talking about how we get so excited in December and January. And she said to me, "Does yours fade?" And I'm like, "Absolutely, it fades." And she's like, "When?" And I'm like, "Usually around May, June." And she's like, "Me too. Coming into winter, there's a different energy." And to honor that, but also use the energy that we've got right now and the excitement and the reevaluation that kind of comes a lot more naturally, and it's more collectively we're all having these types of conversations. And so by the middle of the year we're talking about having a structure to reignite it again and make sure that we're not just fading throughout the year. For me personally, it's every quarter, me and my sister, we do a 1 day, we call it a summit, and we just relook at everything got. We've got a process that we go through where we look at what's working, what's not working, and we really take the time to reflect on those things that aren't working. It's so easy to just avoid them and go and focus on another area of life. But to go, okay, what is the block? What's the bottleneck? What habit do I need to change? And I think putting those things in place for the year, knowing human behavior,
Yeah.
is that the excitement does fade. And what can we do to set ourselves up for success?
Yeah, that's beautiful. I think just by the virtue of the work that we do, we also notice common themes or challenges. Like I know, for example, throughout the year, I will see recurring themes in my clients, whether it's something social or something in their business, whether it's burnout or uncertainty about the future. That also really helps me figure out where my attention needs to go and what actually needs my help and support. So, in terms of even adjusting the work I do, is dependent on so many other factors. It's so you might have an idea, okay, this is what my year is going to look like, or this is what I'm going to be helping. Sometimes you also have to adjust depending on what the people in your life need, what your clients need, what they're going through, so that you can continue to be in like a state of service and presence, right? So I found that's also really helpful to then adjust and that be a good thing, and then for you to feel great about that, even though it may not have been what you imagined at the beginning of the year.
I love this topic, Ray. It's so powerful because I think we put a lot of pressure on ourselves that if we've set this goal that we have to do it, and it's somehow failure if we didn't or whatever. But actually, it's really smart to reevaluate and say, no, I'm not going to keep completing that. Just because I started it doesn't mean I have to finish it just because I said I would. So
Yeah.
just giving yourself permission to go, no, that was me back in the past. Like I wanted that, and it's okay to actually want something different now, or to be adaptable and be able to change. I think it's really powerful and move the goalposts if we need to, and give ourselves a little bit more time. The friend that I caught up with, she said writing a book has taken her way longer than she thought.
Mm.
We are just talking about how good things do take time,
Yeah.
and the growth of who she becomes by writing that book is
Oh my
so much
gosh.
more than just I need to get it finished. Because I think in our society, there's so much emphasis on getting the dopamine hit because we complete something. We love ticking things
Yeah.
off, but actually to walk away from something or go, this might take me 2 years and that's okay. It's like the unglamorous.
Oh my gosh, yeah, I forget who said this quote, but there is this fallacy that leaders don't quit, right? It's no, leaders quit often and quickly. Yeah,
The
like
right
so yeah, so that because everything that's not meant for them then actually allows for what is aligned, whether it's an opportunity or a collaboration or an idea, right? So it's no, it's very important to quit often and quickly on the wrong things and having that process of discernment, I think that can go a long way.
Yeah, I love that idea that it's actually a really good thing to let something go and go, oh, I just freed up all this time because I'm not going to just keep it's that whole fallacy of sunk costs, like how people hold on to shares too long because they've come so far, or you buy something and you don't use it and you're like, oh, I want to
Mm.
get my money, but actually to go, no, the best use of my time is to shift and change. I'd be curious, Ray, for you, do you find a different excitement at the start of the year? And do you have things in place that help you keep that up?
Oh, yeah. And also often looking at things to take with me and then things to leave behind, right? So it's like I'm often looking at strategies that are no longer working or looking to optimize things that are a bit more realistic. For example, my morning routine has changed a lot over the years, right? Before there was such a pressure to do the 20-minute meditation and then get up and do the hour-long workout and then the 30-minute journal. That's just over time, that's just not been practical and actually not that efficient. So, like my morning meditation now actually starts in bed, where I actually will think about and feel the things I'm grateful for. And I will reflect on three highest outcomes for the day. So it's almost like that process will actually be a lot more efficient, and a lot more personal and practical because I've adapted it to what works and what serves me. So that's just one example, but even other things, say certain types of meetings or certain types of collaborations, I'm often looking for feedback after an experience to go, do I want more or less of that? Do I want to be working with groups like these or organizations like these or clients like these or not? So I'm in that process of evaluation and assessment throughout the year, but I will do a big kind of review, being like, okay, more of that next year, less of that next year, from the macro to the micro.
That's really powerful. And I love that you've got a way to keep reflecting and keep checking in.
Oh, yeah.
It's almost like we can get so heads down and doing, and then you pop your head up and you're just like, why am I doing that? And I heard recently a quote about the worst use of your time is to get something perfect. That's the wrong thing to be doing. There's a
Oh,
quote like that
yeah.
words perfect that we can really spend all this time on something, and then is it strategically the right thing or the most effective or productive thing to do? And
Yeah.
sometimes the most productive thing is just to rest or to read a
Yeah.
book or to actually give ourselves permission.
Yeah, yeah, beautiful. I'd love to know as you shape your practice for 2025, right? Like, how will this year's insights for you inspire what you do next year?
Great question. I think what I've realized this year is that when I get really busy and those routines start to slip, like I'm not journaling as much as I want, or I'm not meditating as much as I want, or some of these things that I know are so important, but I'm like, that's just going to come after this season, or once I
Yeah.
finish this project. Something I've realized this year is that I just need that constant coming back to reflection and a bit more margin time because I tend to
Mm.
rush to the next thing. And
Yeah.
so by putting margin in to go, okay, like after a coaching session, what worked
Mm.
well, what do I want to improve on next time after every event. Like I always write down feedback of what I want to improve on next time, but then to actually go and implement it, sometimes I'll just rush to the next thing and not take that time. So I've really seen I guess the downside of not doing it, yeah, because it was
Yeah.
such a full year, getting married and running a business. And both Tim and I worked up till the night before we left for New Zealand. And then we got up at 5 and then we were just,
Oh
it was
my gosh.
full on. Like it was pretty crazy. We both had so much to do before we left on this holiday. So I learned from that is I want to do little things throughout the year rather than shoving them into the future and waiting until I've got time. You know
Gosh.
what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Yeah. And and I think that's also helpful for anybody, say if you're exhausted or tired or something, say instead of being reactive or doing it after the fact, you can be so proactive throughout the year if you prioritize it throughout in terms of recharging your energy or feeling that renewal and making that a part of your practice.
Mm. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, because I think sometimes it's easy to make it hard for ourselves where we push things into the future, like once that's finished, then I'll get to it. But it's like, what can I set up next year? Like
Mm.
that's going to be the one domino that's going to knock over all the other ones. Like one practice that I could put in that's new just for January, for example,
Mm.
and just work on that and then add another one in February rather than having 10 goals or even 5 goals. Just what maybe you have your big picture goal for the whole year, your
Yeah.
vision, your word, my sister Vicky calls it like you zoom out and then you zoom in. So you zoom out,
Mm.
you get your big picture vision, then you zoom down into the detail. But we constantly need to be doing that because we're told to be so present, but we also need to look into the future and predict and forecast what's coming up.
Yeah, I'd love your insights on this actually. I sometimes my clients go through this. I experience this as well, which is and maybe you do too. That's why I'm asking you because I don't think you and I do anything half-heartedly. We're very involved people. Whether a video, whether it's a deadline, we're all in it. So then if in the middle of that someone goes, "Hi, would you like to take a break and do this self-care wonderful thing?" Like sometimes because of the degree of output or the level of passion that we have for the work, what tools or resources have you had to either switch off or take a break from that? Because I see a lot of people struggling to separate that or disengage from something that they're very passionate about and that they take so seriously.
Mm.
I have that
Um,
too, by the way. Sometimes I will then postpone it, which is, you know what? I actually don't feel like I can switch off right now because whether it's the adrenaline or whether it's the passion for something is too intense. So I find it challenging sometimes to then switch off or take a break.
yeah, yeah. And I don't think I've nailed this for sure. No one really ever nails it because it's
Mm.
that
Oh, works in
tricky.
progress. Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely.
But I also have learned to just ride the wave as well, like knowing that I've got holidays in place. So the first thing I do at the start of the year, usually December or November, is put my holidays in as the big rocks for the
Mm.
following year. So
Mhm.
know that they're there. So if I am on that drive, I know that's coming up and it's there. And I'm very aware of if I don't stop, then I'll just keep going and going. So that, like putting those things in place, like to set the
Yeah. Yeah.
because I find very hard to switch off and stop. And I don't like forcing myself to when I'm like in the momentum. Do you
Momentum.
know what I
Yeah,
mean?
I hear you. And I'll just share something which a client of mine and I we were talking about a couple of weeks ago, which is to focus on the highest priority. Because, like for example, if I then shift to that highest priority, I can then switch off a bit easier. What I mean by that is if the highest priority is to work 24/7, or if the highest priority is to get this perfect, then I won't stop, right? But if the highest priority is to be healthy, if the highest priority is to have a great day or to feel great about today, then I can start to say, okay, I need to do something else to feel like I was very healthy today or I felt great today.
That's
So
so
actually,
powerful. It's so simple.
yeah, really simple, which is okay, the highest goal is for today is actually not to do this perfectly, right? There's another goal that I value a bit more than this being absolutely perfect.
That is so powerful and so easily, I don't want to say easily put because it's a practice, right? To do that and constantly be going, is this the best use of my time? But it's
Yeah.
simple. It's simple enough for us to go, I can just every day go, is this the highest priority or what is my highest priority today?
Yeah, and that will often be the only thing which will calm the adrenaline down a bit. So, no, I do want to be healthy. Yeah, no, being healthy is important. Yeah, it is, And then it will only that which will then allow the permission. Otherwise, I find that it's a bit harder, right? If I haven't clarified that or if I haven't made it clear to myself that I want something else more, right? Yeah,
Yes, it's almost like an anchor that you hold on to. I do a similar thing where I say, what's the purpose? Like I'll constantly
yes.
just question, I'll set a timer and when my timer goes off, I stand up
Yeah.
and it will say, what's the best use of my time right now? But it's also, what's the purpose? Why am I doing this? What's the purpose of, if
Yeah.
I'm getting like all stressed about something, like the whole purpose is for me to be happy, but I'm not happy right now. So just
Oh,
to constantly keep coming back to that purpose.
yeah, stunning. I feel like that's two ways of doing the exact same process. Yeah, which is also really helpful. So whether it's an anchor or whether you come back to the why or the purpose of an action, that's that can help. I found that can be helpful.
Simple tool. Yeah, I really love that. I just would love to know, Ray. A lot of people are talking to me about overwhelm at the moment, and obviously life's picked up, AI's picked up, yes, of the amount of stuff coming in for us.
Yeah.
And the highest priority is a really awesome tool for that. But is there anything else that you have found helpful for you and your clients to help with that overwhelm?
Yeah, and I feel like given the nature of the people I work with, they love to focus on the future, right? What's emerging, what kind of practices are coming. So I think more and more what my clients and I find helpful is for leaders to be emotionally intelligent. So having that deeper integration of emotional and strategic practices in their business. So really looking at the emotional reasons for making a decision or approaching a certain thing. I think that also has made things really clear for people. So having that integrated or a holistic approach to decision making and business strategies has then also allowed them to be very fulfilled and have that inside out transformation. So that I find that's been really helpful for my clients, that emotional intelligence, emotional regulation, and yeah, like a holistic inside out approach to making decisions in their business and then their life. Yeah.
That's very potent what you just shared there. That's super powerful. And I think overwhelm is often a backup of a lot of like decisions that haven't been made. And so the clearer you are, the more aligned you are to your values, the quicker you can make decisions. And then things don't overwhelm you as much because it's just like a clear, no, no,
Right.
stay on track, keep the blinkers on.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I was having this conversation with a client last week. I'd love to hear yours too, but just this notion of her starting something new, like just starting a new service in her business. And she was trying to read everything and know everything before she started. Right? And I was giving her the example. It's like someone wanting to be a lawyer. If I read the entire textbook before I started law school, and was like, oh, you know what? I wonder why I'm so overwhelmed. I'm so overwhelmed because I'm just trying to read the whole thing before I even start. And it's like a bit of a fallacy because that's about fear. That's actually not going to help me become a lawyer or even show up in court, right? I actually need to learn through acting, learn through action. But if I know that, oh, okay, this is about my own perfectionism or my fear, then I can just go, oh, actually, I don't need to be overwhelmed because I don't need to read the book. I just need to enroll or I just need to do the next thing to get me started. Yeah.
Great
So that's just
example.
one example. And she was like,
Yeah.
oh yeah, I'm trying to read the whole curriculum. I was, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, and business, especially entrepreneurship, like you have to be so okay with being uncomfortable and messy and in a process because it's always dynamic. You've always got to shift and change and react to what's going on as well as be intentional. So yeah, I think just being able to be okay with not knowing all the answers, and just trusting yourself that when you need the answers that you'll find them.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. How about you? What are you noticing about these insights? Whether you're seeing any kind of like new trends or what you think would be valuable for your clients as we move into the new year?
Yeah, I think with the speed of AI and with the amount of information that people are overwhelmed with, the biggest thing that we can do to help people is help them come back to their values and help them come back to their highest priorities. And just, I guess, just constantly taking that time to reflect, because it's never a waste of time to stop and make sure that what we're doing is the right thing to do out of all the hundreds of millions of things that we could be doing, to
Yeah.
just keep questioning that
Yeah.
and just keep reminding ourselves this is the best use of my time right now, and just to stay with something. And because we are so stimulated with TikTok, just the
Mm,
how fast things are, it's changing our brains. And so to just keep that discipline of staying on one thing and not getting into a habit of like task switching and like being reactive. So just
mm.
we all have that personal responsibility for our own relationship with AI and with social media and with information coming at us. So I guess to just have that personal responsibility of keeping checking in to see if it's healthy.
Definitely. Yeah. And to examine that and interrogate it, right? Like I think that's important because if we're not careful, then it can be very easy to become addicted to something and pretend that we're learning or taking in information. And it's just like, no, I'm just like I'm just addicted. But I think I'm like learning, or you know what I mean? So it's this fallacy. If you don't interrogate it, if you don't actually question your reasons for doing something or being stagnant in something, yeah, it can then lead to something like a dysfunctional relationship with social media or AI pretty quickly.
Yes. And be ruthless, because your
Yeah.
time matters and your life matters and it's important. I've loved this conversation, Ray.
Oh,
It's
me
been great.
too. Me too. I do want to end on a celebratory note, though. I feel like we've given a lot of things like to assess or to review. I do want to end on that momentum and to hear a bit more, just to end on something you want to celebrate or something that you're grateful for, so or something that you're proud of, because I think that's also such an important part of the end of year reflection. And so I want to encourage anyone who's listening to also do that as they reflect on their own year. So yeah, what would you share?
For me, I actually got nominated for an award, and when I was filling out what have been your big successes this year, it's like, oh, I don't feel like I've had any of those major things. I got married, that was a big thing.
It's a huge thing.
Yeah.
Also, you got nominated for an award. Congratulations.
It's cool. But in terms of business, there weren't those major things. But I actually wrote a whole thing about consistency and how it's not
Yeah.
glamorous and it's not sexy, but it's actually required. And
Yeah.
that's what I feel most proud of, is that just consistently showing up and having that routine and looking after people. And just, and for those of you that are like, oh, I haven't had any trophies or whatever, but if you've kept showing up, just to really honor that and celebrate just that consistency.
Oh, darling. Yeah, absolutely. It's like small wins are actually the building blocks of the momentum, of the confidence. That's where the juice is, like actually honoring those little moments, those in between moments between the work and, yeah, the final outcome, which is a myth anyway. But that's, yeah, there's no such thing. We never arrive. So that's, I think, celebrating a discipline or a practice. I think that's so important.
Me too. Yeah. What about you, hon?
Yeah, I am very proud, or just I think I'm very grateful for the clients that I have. I am happy that I have the relationship. I have some very deep relationship with my clients, and it's such a privilege to honor their experience and their journey and be part of that journey with them. They've done some incredible things, whether it's like changing careers or making new moves in business or moving countries and moving cities and starting new roles. Or I think I'm most proud of those partnerships in my business, and that's been really lovely. And on a personal front, there has been so much. So I've moved into a new home And that's also been really wonderful. And just, yeah, helping other people like create their lives and also my own at the same time. I think that's been something I'm really grateful for. That's been such a privilege. Yeah.
Beautiful. Congratulations. I love that. It's so, I feel the same about my clients. I just feel so grateful to have such amazing women in my life. Yeah, if you're watching this, I love you. You're amazing. Can't wait for the next year. Helping you build your dreams. It's such an honor.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh my gosh. Yeah. So I feel like that's a wonderful note to end on.
So good. I hope this has been helpful. If you're watching this, have an amazing reflective time, reevaluate everything.
Yeah, absolutely. Have a wonderful December. Think about everything, all your celebrations, everything you're grateful for, all the moments you're proud of, and then just little tweaks that you would like to make for 2025, whether it's something big, something small, and really excited to talk with you in the new year and build on this.
I've loved our conversation. We'll talk to you soon.
Love you always. Talk to you soon. Bye.